All right, welcome to a live Saturday Night Live with Stampscapes scene here. I want to try a quick, relatively quick, card version of this scene right here, okay? And let's do it in the mirror card format, quarter page, half page folded card to make it quarter page mirrored. Silver cardstock, silver mirrored cardstock. Pearl paper up top. I've been really enjoying this pearl paper once I kind of figured out how to use it. Hello, Crazy Cat. Good evening to you. All right, so we're going to have this right here. I want to try to do a nighttime type of scenario here. So let's change it up just a touch. I've been looking at some different photographs online of autumn types of night scenery. And at nighttime, you can't see all those different colors under the moonlight, right? You're not going to see reds and green, you know what I mean? Colors and whatnot. It all turns into a different type of like grayscale and whatnot. And there were some really, kind of impressionistic types of takes on that. And I want to do something, I don't know, getting, closer to kind of a little bit more of a painterly style, being that we are using so much of the paint pens on this type of thing. Hello, Kay and Alicia, good to see you. Donna, good to see you. So here's the scenario here. I'm going to put this right here. The mill will be coming in from the side, a little bit of grass here, kind of a smaller aspen right here. I guess I'll keep it with the purples because I have all those colors out, right? Or do I have them out? I don't know. I could go with a different color scheme like this. It won't be quite the same as the previous, but let's try something. Anyways, because this is a mirror card, I'm going to put the moon right in here. Having any type of reflective type of element in that mirrored section of a mirror card, it's always better to have it kind of lower on the horizon so that it has not so much of a distance to reflect into. The objects closer to this fold right here are going to be the most reflective. So the things that you want to capture attention, your viewer's attention or whatnot, you want to make it pretty low if you can. Hello, Travel Dreamer. While you're here, thanks for joining in while you can. It is pretty late. Let's see. All right, so let's go as fast as we can while people are up in the other time zones and whatnot. I'm well, Alicia, thank you so much. Hello, Linda. Janet, good evening. Annie, how are you? Okay. Lots of rain here. Huh. Send some of that rain our way if you can. We are getting a touch of rain, but we're talking about like, I don't think we're even getting a tenth of an inch, and there's nothing else in the forecast for the next like 10 days. I don't know. I think it's going to be a very dry period. The mirrored cardstock you can get on Amazon, 60 sheets for like $18 or something like that. And there's a link to it. The pack that I got in the description sections, not of this video, but on previous ones. I like that one. I don't know. I kind of had to hunt around for it back when I initially purchased it. Years ago, a couple years ago at this point in time, and the price per sheet is less. Okay, you can get packs of like 5, but some of those packs that I found back in those times when I was looking around, it was like $1 a sheet. Okay, and it's not too bad, I mean, you can get 4 cards like this, but I prefer 60 sheets for like $16 or something like that. So it just depends if you're going to use it. I didn't get it to do mirror cards or something like that, or to stamp on it. I was buying it for, or maybe I wasn't looking for this type of extreme mirror card. Hello, Colorado Crafter. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Hello, Jen, Maureen. The stuff that I was looking for were other versions of cardstocks. I was looking more along the lines of Stardream papers, okay, the iridescence. And I came across that mirrored one, and I was using the Brilliance inks on it for the most part. So it was, I don't know, like I said, it was pretty cheap. They tend to run out of it all the time, but then they get back in stock in not too, long of a period that you have to wait for it if they are out of it. So keep that in mind. Whenever I start using it again, it tends to run out. So I don't know how much they keep in stock like on Amazon. But like I said, I don't know, it's always been a short period of time before they got it again. So hopefully that's the case. And I've been hoping that this paper, like all types of cardstocks and whatnot, aren't going up in price like crazy. And I don't know, I'm just pleased. I haven't checked it in like 2 weeks, but I thought it would be like $25, $30, like other cardstocks, but it was still like, in the teens. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. Okay, so I'm going for a little bit of variation here. This is the smaller Aspen stamp right here. Done in purples, yeah. We have to, just use whatever color schemes are your favorites. I've done this Aspen tree in greens and yellows a gazillion times, okay? So, I don't know. I just want to do, I don't know. I want to play around with certain types of color schemes and whatnot to take advantage of the different colors that we have in our different media here. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, I like the mirrored stuff, and I never used to consider stamping on them until I started using my Brilliance pad, which I had for years and years, and just never got around to using it. But then, I don't know, I had all this type of not really mirrored cardstocks, but I had a bunch of iridescents. The Star Dreams, Pearl. I want to say Pearl X. Pearl X is a medium, not a surface, but I don't know, these other ones that I got at like Kelly Paper. And I realized I must like iridescent types of media or something like that, because over the, like the 20 years or so, longer. I don't know. They didn't always have those kinds of iridescent papers, but I'd say over the last 20 years, I had amassed quite a bit going to different stores, traveling around to different states and, Paper Source and all that type of thing up in the Pacific Northwest and whatnot. I don't know. I just came across all that type of stuff and I didn't realize it because I didn't have everything consolidated. It's like, oh my gosh, I have like a ton of this type of stock, and I had used it to mat things off with sometimes. But then I thought it'd be nice if we could stamp on it or just use something for it. Hey, Colorado Crafter just finished their first Stampscapes project. Awesome. What did you stamp out, and what did you use for your media on your piece? I just finished like my third Stampscapes project, so just a little bit ahead of you. Hello, Jason. Doing well. Hope you're well. Let's see. Okay, so adding this in. Okay, I'm going to just use one of these trees like this, okay? I'm going to put this right down in there. Let's make sure that I wiped off the correct one. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. I was watching Nancy's live earlier tonight. I joined in on yours, Nancy, when you were doing that re-inking, I watch, I started watching like Nancy's channel and stuff like that. I'm thinking there's all kinds of different media out there that I've never even seen before, like that Spellbinders kind of contraption, that I don't know what it was, I don't know whatever you call that. It's like to me it's like a letterpress. But cool stenciling, and I like that lettering that you added in there with that shadow on there too, or the green and red lettering. Let's see. Okay, this is my moon. All right. Now moon is going to go like right in here. Okay. Maybe I'll have it coming from behind these trees. Okay, now here's the thing. This is what I'm going to try to depict in here. Like I said, I want to do this like in a nighttime type of scenario here. So I'm going to put this right here. That's going to be the reflected area of it. This whole thing is going to have to get a lot darker, okay? But let me get my bearings here right now. Okay, so I'm going to try to transition this going from dark to light down here, and I'm just trying to decide if I need to keep a reversed out area for a moon, or if adding that moon back in here in white over the top of this will be the best thing to do. If I do it in the white, it's going to be the easiest thing because I can just tone in the background and not have to worry about it. So I'm with you, Nancy. Nothing like happiness is a juicy ink pad, Isn't that what they said in I don't know. It sounds like a Charlie Brown title for a movie. We've been watching like Charlie Brown Halloween and Thanksgiving lately. Okay, so transitioning, okay? I'm not going to spend too much time with this. Like I said, I want this to be kind of more of a free-flowing type of thing. A little bit more painterly because of the paints that I'm going to be using in here in the form of the 3mm paint pens to add on those little shimmering types of touches to my leaves, okay? It almost becomes more painting than it's stamping, but I don't know, there's so much paint pen use on here. But I want to take it a little bit even farther, okay? Or see if we could. I was inspired by some of those photographs that I looked at when I typed into, the search engine, autumn night painting or something like that. It was all things like acrylics and oils and whatnot. Hello, Carrie. Colorado Crafter used the printable holographic paper. Wow, you went right into it, Colorado Crafter, with that. Their first piece was the printable holographic paper. Mountains, dirt paths, and trees. Awesome. Did you enjoy it? It's different working on that holographic paper like that. Yeah. That printable holographics. Nancy prints on that holographic paper, and then we did the that holographic paper in the follow-up workshop to Stamp Wars. Stamp Wars is next weekend, by the way, right? Nancy, it's next Saturday, right? Make an announcement here. Put the times and your link in there for that. You guys got to check out. It's I don't know. It's one of the most entertaining things in rubber stamping is Stamp Wars. It gets your heart rate up, and I'm not talking I'm talking about watching it, not even participating in it. So if you have high blood pressure and all that, beware. I stress out watching them try to get that time frame, because it's one of those things. You've seen those types of game shows before, like Iron Chef and stuff like that. But we're all stampers here, so it's like we can relate to that medium, and I don't know, you can put yourself in that type of scenario there because, because we do that stuff. Hello, Jolene. But Colorado Crafter, I tell you, that printable vinyl, my gosh, that's been like a revelation. In terms of a stamping surface, it's really amazing. That type of thing I never would have tried out, like years ago. It was papers, it was cardstocks, but I don't know. In terms of just it's just really finding the different things, and there's just not one thing that's compatible, in terms of a surface, but it's finding, it's discovering the different compatibilities. This one's no different. This is pearl, like a printer paper, I mean, see how thin it is, it's meant to run through your printer and whatnot. But I don't know, it's just been fun kind of finding out the things that we can use. And oftentimes, most of the time strategically in whatever usages we can come up with. Some of it, didn't exist before the surface. So I don't know, it just opens up some doors. And plus, it's always fun to learn new things too. Especially for me, I hadn't been trying like a bunch of different media over the years. It was just refinement, dye-based inks, glossy cardstock, matte cardstocks. I dabbled around a little bit with some other things, but that was my medium. But I don't know. I switched up. Now there's too much stuff, I get, I'm joking there. I don't know if there's ever too many things, but the one problem with me is that sometimes if I don't do something for a couple weeks or a month or whatever, and I haven't done a lot of it up to that point in time, like vellum. So, I was thinking about doing some vellum scenes and getting back into that. And it's like, how did I use that? What ink did I use on that again? You tend to forget about those, those different things. I need to write down the formulas or something like that for these types of things. And even this pearl paper here, I grabbed this pearl paper and I'd only used it once and I couldn't remember what I used on there. All right, so adding this down, it's got a little bit of texture to it. And then this is just dye-based inks, okay? And then we're going to use alkyl inks over the top of it. Okay, so we got the Stamp Wars info down there. Yeah, 8 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard, so 5 p.m. Pacific time. Grab your popcorn for that one, There's four. Nancy? There's four. Let me see. There was three or four of you on that doing that, but there's four like active screens going with different projects. So you really gotta, really gotta pay attention. If you want to keep up and figure out what people are doing, because people are, they're not doing the same thing either. It's just kind of whatever they, that individual has come up with that they want to use on their own piece. All right, so that my mill is kind of getting a little bit more obscured in here. I want to put another tree in here. I think that's going to balance off this side and this side a little bit before I add in that moon, okay? So you can kind of get the gist of it right now. Remember, I'm going to add in a moon in here, so it's going to be a lot more, I want more contrast in this one, like that. All right. So here's the thing. I'm hoping that I can get a good impression of this purple over the top of that, and then I've already laid in that black dye-based ink in there. So, yeah. Janet just ordered the pearl today. I hope you enjoy it, Janet. The pearl, working on this pearl it feels different than the printable vinyls. By quite a bit. It's somewhere in between. This is somewhere in between, like or I wouldn't say it's in between. It's a lot closer to like a Stardream type of paper, like an iridescent cardstock, even though this has this coating on there. Linda says, yeah, yes, please, the vellum. I want to try some different vellums again. I've been doing tons of like birch trees with the vellum. The vellum is like awesome for birch trees because you can do that white from the, you can paint on the back side of that vellum and it shows through. So just really awesome stuff. Which black ink works best on white glossy cardstock without smearing? It's Marvy. As far as dye-based inks on glossy cardstock, it's because the Marvy inks are thinner. They're sold out though, okay? So one of the things that I've been doing on the glossy cardstock lately, if you're going to color with other dye-based inks, okay, if you're going to use the alcohol inks on it, forget it, you know, but stays on, okay? So think about that in terms of a surface, provided you're not going to use the alcohol inks on there to color, at least immediately. I have colored some glossies before. Post stays on impressions, but I allowed it to dry like overnight. And it didn't, you know, if it was putting that impression back into solution a little bit, I didn't really see it too much. But I seem to recall it was either that or it was on the see, here's that problem, you know, I can't remember what it was that I didn't have the problem with in regards to the stays on ink with alcohol ink coloring. Okay, it was something like that. Don't call me on Stamp Wars night. Don't call, don't text. Well, I guess they can text you because you always get back with them whenever you want. One host, 3 participants. Okay, yeah. So you got those 3 windows going on, you know what I mean? And like I was mentioning the other day, you know, it's easy for me to miss like what someone just used somewhere, you know? So I constantly had to go in that window. You know, it's because I hadn't been watching that, so I'm not used to like a rolling message screen going like, you know, you know what I mean? You're just like constantly going up there like that. So it's like it was easy for me to miss stuff too. Let's see here. All right, so we have that right down there. So that's a little nestled back in there. That really looks washed out like that, but it's a little bit darker without this kind of glare on there. Okay, like that. So let's go like that. I'm looking at these right here, and I'm going to put some darker ones down here in this water area. I'm wondering right now if that is ready for a moon or if I should go darker, because if I put that over that top of that, I want this to already be set back here. I don't want to have to make this darker after I do that moon, right? I mean, I guess you could. I guess you can just put another layer over it if you want to or something like that. But okay, let's go in, you know, speaking of coloring on tops of dye-based inks. Okay, so that's a good tip right there. The Catherine Pooler. So wait, the Black Archival. Okay, so the Black Archival is going to be another solvent ink, right? And okay, which one's darker, Nancy? Is it the black? Is it the Pooler or is it the Stays On? In terms of value, or are they approximately the same value? I'm always looking for the darkest black possible. That's what I always want to know. All right, so let's see here. Let's go with a lighter tone like this. All right. I am going to make this Watermill have kind of interior illumination. Oops. I'm blending away my my freshly stamped aspens right here. They're not really aspens in this type of scenario. There's some sort of a purple. Well, if they're purple aspens, they're like a new hybrid aspen. They've crossed it with a fuchsia or something like that. All right, let's see, like that. Okay, let's see. Black and stains clear stamps. Well, that's what the stay is on clear stains clear stamps too, doesn't it? I don't know. I heard it does. There's like this. I'm going to leave the rooftop lighter on this one, okay? If I get this really dark, which I'm not necessarily trying to do, but if it does end up going really dark, it might end up being kind of a spookier looking kind of scenario, which won't be bad because it's like Halloween, right? I want to know how it got to be the end of October so fast. All right, let's see. Maybe not brown. Let's go with the gray tone. I need to grab my other grays sometimes. I have, I think I have some 70% in here. My grays that I have out right now. I don't have so much room on my desk anymore with all this different media. So I put another set of alcohol inks away, in addition to my I used to have gel pens that 180 color set of gel pens. And a lot of this stamping is kind of like impromptu, so I'm not really thinking about what I'm going to be using, you know, beyond the basics before I start stamping it. All right, so that is that right there. Let's see. The purple trees, Nancy. Yeah, I really like this purple color scheme like this. You know, I don't know, just different for me. Um, I I've done it. Someone posted a photograph on the Stampscapes Facebook group, and it was like I don't know if it was a Mount Fuji or something like that, but it had like this pink forest, you know, presumably cherry blossoms or something like that. I think it was Mount Fuji in the background or something like that. So it was one of those things people put out like a challenge. Hey, you know, this would be cool to stamp into a scene or something like that. So I started doing something like that, but it was more in the pink tones. But I thought, yeah, you know, let's try purple here or something like that, you know, this time around. A bush stamp instead of the pine. What do you mean by bush stamp like that? There are, I do have a stamp called Bush, you know, but it's kind of like more like a little textural type of thing. Yeah, we put our Halloween decorations up. We started putting them up like in probably like, you know, beginning of the month or something like that. But it's like we were still decorating, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like Halloween. What is it? Is it? It's like in a week, right? It's 22nd today, so it's 31st. Um, yeah, but that's gonna come and go. I was thinking we really need to get our Christmas decorations up because, like, right after Halloween, because as soon as we get everything up, it's like we're taking it down already. Okay, so I am putting a little bit of that lighting back into that scenario right here. It looks rather anemic right now because I don't have any other paint pens in here. So I need to really kind of build this up right in here. Okay, so anyways, this is what this is roughly, you know, the scenario here, okay? And again, that shimmery pearl paper is capturing some of that light, so I think this is a little bit, that's a little bit too light in there. We need to make that background in there a little bit darker, or a lot darker, for that moon to stand out in there, and hopefully it stands out and can get opaque enough over these tones that I'm laying down in the background. So I've been trying to keep this a little bit lighter, but I think just for contrast's sake, because this is a mirror card, we have to go darker. They have purple trees in Australia. Huh. Purple trees in like the spring or something like that, with the spring blossoms maybe? Jacarandas. Okay, so here comes a little bit more black. Okay. I'm going to do a mirror card. Let's see. I have this half page gold down here. And then there was this, when I was looking up that autumn, fall, or autumn moonlit, or I don't know what I typed into the search engine. Autumn night, autumn night scene or something like that. Painting, autumn night painting. There was this one of a forest like this, and there was, it had these trees reflected in some area down here. It was a smaller area down here like that, but there was all those trees, and then you had the crepuscular lighting coming in from the side, but it was a warm lighting and all kinds of thicket of trees and whatnot. So I'm going to try that on this one. I was going to do that tonight, but then I thought, I got all these stamps out right now, and when I'm doing these different versions of it, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a quick version. I forgot. I would have rushed through a lot more of this, but I forgot about that. I thought I would do it right now before I put all this stuff away, in other words. Okay. So we're going pretty dark up here. But I can't wait to try that fall one, because there was all these kind of glistening little, leaves throughout the that forested area, and which is perfect for like oil painting and whatnot. So I would like to try that in a mirror card situation with the paint pens like that. Street trees, wow. Those jacarandas really drop a ton of those blossoms, right? Like I said, I think those are jacarandas in Whittier, California. I think those are the main trees on that drag, if I'm not mistaken. All right, Nancy, thanks for joining in. Great to see you. Glad you could join in, Deb. Thanks for checking it out. Hello to anyone else that happened to log in. If I missed you, or they're watching in the background. Thanks so much for joining in. Okay, so this is going to be my moon right here, and I'll put it coming from. I want to go as low as I can in here. I don't want to put it right over this tree like that, but something like that. We'll have some of those trees kind of poking through a little bit, something like. I don't want to get too close to the mill, but a little bit. So let's go with something like that. Okay, you see that right there? Okay, now I'm just hoping that I can get a decent amount of coverage with some of my brilliance ink like this. I don't always know what level of opacity I'm going to get. Now I just thought of something too. I could probably hit it with a paint pen too. Let's go with the pigment ink first. And if the pigment ink doesn't do it, then we'll hit it with the paint pen. Or should I? Yeah, let's do it like this. Maybe it'll be two-tone. Maybe I can go with a little bit of a sharper, crisper edge with the paint pen. And then we'll have a softer one down here, because I don't want to have that paint pen going across these trees right here. I want those trees to still be showing, in the moonlight like that. All right. I think that makes more sense to me now that I'm looking at this. In theory. Everything's in theory until you try it, right? But I think that makes more sense to me. I want to go with a little bit of crisp kind of version like this. Okay. And maybe more opaque like this. Okay. If it doesn't work out, then so be it. It's just a live stream demonstration is all. Remember, I think people look at to me, with whatever I'm doing on these things like an authority on, certain types of techniques, okay? But a lot of it is, I'm just kind of playing around and trying to figure it out, especially on these new types of surfaces. I'm doing something on the glossy cardstock. Chances are I've done it, quite a few times or something like that, with dye bastings. But all this new stuff, like this pearl paper, I don't know, I'm still kind of tinkering around with it quite a bit. I have no idea how it's going to take a lot of the different media. And, I don't know, I should probably experiment around like, the Star Dream papers again too, that are, also iridescent and, those types of surfaces, just to see if I can get the same types of looks, and maybe it works even better, I don't know, than the kind of emulsion coated printer paper. I don't know. One good thing about these printer papers, though, in relation to certain types of cardstocks, is that they're relatively inexpensive per sheet, at least. You know what I mean? You might have to buy a pack of, the printer papers, they don't sell them in like packs of like 10 or something like that. Or do they? No, maybe with the Starry holographic one, maybe that was a pack of 10, but usually they're in packs of, 10 or 20, and they're usually thinner than cardstocks, right? So sometimes they're a lot cheaper. In relation, I don't know. But they're a good option, though. I mean, if something works out and it kind of gives you the look you're going for, and a lot of people already have a lot of these types of things. They just haven't really thought about stamping onto it before. All right, so that is that. I've got a little bit of a change right in here, you see, from that transition between the pen and that ink. This is going to dry probably a little bit more translucent right in there too. Or more see-through, I should say. It's already translucent because you can see that tree showing through. So I might have to hit it more. And then I'm also going to make this glow in here quite a bit more when we get into it. All right, so this is my base coat of coloring on here. Like I said, it's going to be quite a bit different, but let's see if we can see that moon. That moon has to reflect pretty decently in that lower section for this mirror card to be really effective, okay? And we'll get some more colors put into here. Some different types of tones reflecting, and we'll try to bring this area to life too a lot more. This area in here needs some kind of transitioning colors too. Maybe we'll put another tree or something like that down here. We need some darker contrasts in that area by far for that to be a lot more effective. Let's try that right now, actually. All right, so let me try something on. It needs more blacks in there. Maybe I should try, like right down in here. I need some contrasting textures right in here in a darker tone. And let's see. This is a little bit too big. I have the smaller version of it. Let's see. Good night to Janet. You used copper. Have you used copper shiny cardstock? I have a Stardream copper that I used once. Let me see. This is not it. This is the gold Stardream. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm thinking about the copper Brilliance pad that I've used. I know I used that. I'm trying to think now if I've used copper. I'm sure I have it though. the silver, gold, and copper. I was collecting those types of things. Hello, Cindy. We're doing a mirror card here, I'm trying to come up with this different scenario here, down here to be reflected in this type of situation right here. I should tell you, one of the things I didn't mention here was the thrust of this scene is, see this right here? This is like a daytime type of scenario here with these purple tones like this. But one of the things that I really liked, I like the look of these trees here that I stamped in this mirrored section. I wanted to do that again with just those little purple little highlights like that, you know, capturing some light. So in this scenario with the moon, I'm going to go all the way probably to white in here as little reflective elements in these foreground trees like that. So I wanted to go with, you know, I've been doing these kind of daytime types of scenarios on this pearl paper, by the way. And if you didn't see these two cards here, you get this pearl paper like this, and it has that iridescent kind of luster to it where it's reflecting a lot more light than, say, a white piece of paper, you know, by contrast or whatever comparison. So experimenting around with that, you know, it's one of those things, you know, when I'm doing these types of things in scenery stamping, you know, I'm always trying to give this kind of representation of light coming from within the scene out usually, right? Because we're not, you know, we never have like lighting in scenes, really. It's just contrast that you're usually playing around with when you're using a white piece of paper. But when you use a reflective surface like this, you do have light reflecting back at you as opposed to just light represented by the absence of, you know, a darker area around it. So it's actually light in the scene. So trying to play around with that type of notion on these printable vinyl holographic cardstocks, you know, sticker papers, and all that type of thing in there. All right, well, the Versafine Claire, do you think the Versafine Claire is going to dry in here? I didn't test out the Versafine Claire, but it did dry on the printable vinyl printer paper, and this is a printable pearl card paper, not sticker paper, right? These two papers, though, they have very different types of surfaces on them tactily, but I gotta think that's a similar type of coating on there, right? If it's going to take your printer ink. I think I'm going to try the Versafine Claire in there. Okay, but that being said, if I stamp this Versafine Claire in there right now, I just know it's going to take a little bit of time for it to dry, so I'm going to do that later. But if it does work, I think that's going to be a really super dark color in here. So, all right, so let's see here. Should I do some paint pen work on here now? I'm going to start on with some paint pen work on here and see how that comes out. I think I'm going to go with some smaller pens though than the you know, the 3mm. These are so much smaller trees in here. And I might want another tree in here just coming out from behind that mill. Let me see here. I think I do. Let's do that right now. I just re-inked my pens so they're super, super juicy. Maybe they're almost like too wet, but better wet than dry when it comes to inks, right? Let's go like this, and let's go right here. All right, so just masking off with the paper towel. Under mask a little bit so that you don't get this big space in between, you know, whatever you're, you know, stamping in the back, you know, in the back of some object. And if it goes in front of it a little bit in scenic stamping, it doesn't matter. You know, if it's something like leaves or something like that, then you just say, hey, you know, there's some, you know, branches going in front of your building or whatever. You know, it's not, you know, some kind of odd visual scenario. Scenic stamp is like one of the easiest forms of stamping in terms of, oh, adding something in and maybe not getting something exactly where you wanted it to go. In scenic stamping, it really doesn't matter too much. You know, maybe with a word stamp or something like that, you know. You don't want to drop something like that, you know, like in a scene or something like that. But I don't know, you can always like stamp a branch over it or something like that. Okay, so anyways, adding some of this down here, and I will add some of those other reeds down there if I think I need to. But this is going to be that water line. Let's take and get our bearings right now, like that, and see what that's going to look like from a reflective standpoint, like that. I'm adding in crisper imagery because, see, on that pearl, everything's broken up a little bit, except for in my trees that, I don't know, there's just so much more ink in there, I guess. Let me try something too here. Let's see. Let me try to get a little bit more of a solid perimeter here. Or vignette, I should say. Right up in the upper corners like that. Oh, one of the things is too, one of the things I discovered with this pearl paper, okay, and I mean, it makes sense. I didn't really think about it though, when I was doing those first two pieces, but because dye-based inks are transparent, okay, well, where I didn't cover up the impression of those aspen trees. These are the larger ones right here, but see this right in here? This ink right here, this purple ink, which is the same purple ink that I just used right here, it's transparent dye-based ink on here. Anything that you'd just go directly on top of the pearl with dyes, okay, they become kind of iridescent impressions because that iridescent surface is showing through the transparent dye inks. So I didn't really notice that when I was doing it yesterday because my ink was still really wet and it was, you know, it was reflecting some of that damp nature of it. But then when it dried out, it kind of mellows out a little bit more and you can see through there. So you can see this is shiny in the impression itself. It's not, it's kind of, it wasn't really apparent to me though until it dried, I think. And I don't know, I was holding it up against the flatness of the paints, of the paint pen paints, okay? So, I don't know, that was one of those, I don't know, post-scene kind of notions or observations that I had in there. I'm picturing black ink, pinks and yellows, reflections on copper. That would be interesting. I've done... It's kind of interesting you say that because I was thinking I want to do a color scenario of black, white, and gold. I don't know, for some reason, you know, I was thinking about that. Those were like my high school colors, and I always liked that color combination. So seeing that, you know, I mean, you mentioned the pinks and yellows too, but that seems like it would be a really nice color harmony like that. Stream from a suggested list. Nadine, thanks for checking it out here. This is a real experiment here. It's not so much of a kind of instructional thing, but me just kind of fumbling around trying to figure things out on this video at least. Watch the intro videos though. You can see the pieces put together from start to finish like in 3 minutes, you know, with music and not me blabbing about. Okay, let's see. It's more pixelated on Pearl. It is, yeah. But, and it is in person too, like that. But that's why I like the contrast with the pens. To me, the pens are the things that are making this paper, in a landscape scenario at least, you know, kind of a little bit more, for me, like viable because I need that contrast of, I guess it's opacity and, oh, I guess the, I try to make these look real dimensional, but each one of these dot patterns is more of a flat application against that shimmery type of nature. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm always trying to do with the holographics too, the holographic cardstocks and things like that. That starry ones. The papers are just inherently really kind of loud, so it's almost like fighting with imagery in terms of this overall kind of visual dominance, where it's like I'm trying to go for, if it's not harmony, it's just a little bit of compatibility at least. You know, where something can potentially work. All right, we're going into that tree next to the moon. It's interesting. As I put these little dots right over that moon too, that purple gets a little bit lighter. So I always say that these things, these paint pens, ideally would be a little bit more opaque. I mean, they're more on the opaque side of things, but I would say between opacity, you know, absolute opacity and transparency on that scale, they're probably more like a 60% or something like that, moving towards opacity. Which for me, I wish they were more opaque. I wish they were kind of closer to like an 85 or something like that. I don't know if I'd want complete opacity, because sometimes when you add these into a scenario like this, they blend and kind of harmonize with the background colors a little bit better, being that you can see through them as you're building them up. Unless you just have really good command over it, which I don't. You know, I'm just kind of adding it in, and I probably go a little bit heavy sometimes in some areas. And then when I just let it sit, it just kind of blends in a little bit more, especially with the lighter tones. So, I don't know, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to utilize in a, I don't know, somewhat graceful way, maybe. Melody, glad you enjoy it. I need to do some kind of instructional videos at some point in time too, where I know what I'm doing, you know, kind of going into it, or at least a little bit more. You're watching me kind of like fumbling around on a lot of these live streams. It's like I wouldn't call it precarious or anything like that, but it's definitely kind of a little kind of a scenario of discovery. I don't know what I'm going to get, and I'm just you know, you hope something comes out, but with each one of these types of experiments, I come out knowing more than I did before, you know, I did going into it. Sometimes it's about something that works okay, sometimes if it's about something that works really good, and sometimes it's about things to kind of avoid too, you know, going forward. So, which is sometimes it's, you know, just as or more important than kind of figuring out the things that do work. It's like figuring out, oops, it's figuring out the things that do not work. Let me see if I can get that back for you guys. When it really wants to hunt around. Flipping off here. All right, let's get that back here. All right, there we go. Oh, by the way, let's see. All right. Like that. I probably needed to change my exposure on that a little bit more too. I kind of have it, when this is like completely white, I have to kind of overexpose a little bit because it's picking up the exposure from this, but once this starts to get dark in here. So this is a little bit, closer to what I'm looking at live here. All right, so here's what I'm doing here. We're going with a little bit of a lighter tinge like this. I don't know how much you can see of this. I can't zoom in a little, quite a bit closer here, but on these trees right here, the ones that are to the left of the moon, I'm kind of highlighting a little bit more around this side with the lighter tones. With the purple, the darker purple, I kind of put it throughout, okay? Now this one over here, I'm kind of highlighting more of this left side. I mean, you can't see it right now. It'll be a lot more apparent when I get into like a beige or white paint pen, okay? Right. I'm not only going with just that, but kind of a little bit more dominant applications to the side of the objects that are facing the light sources. So I don't know if, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. I can tell when it starts to hunt a little bit, but can you see this writing down in here? So it's going a little bit lighter, which is kind of like this tree right in here in this area. So if I just kind of randomly kind of, I don't know, add a little bit more highlight in there, it looks like this tree now is in front of this one because we have this darker field right in back of it, okay? I mean, you don't have to do that, but it layers your trees a little bit more by doing so. So we'll add some light in here, and let's say there's, this tree right in here, okay? So you can just kind of fake it and you can add in some more lighter applications of this purple right here. I don't think you can see that. I'll do it in the white so you can see it a little bit more. But see, one of the things about the paint pens too is that you have these nice kind of transitioning values of whatever color scheme you want to go with, or whatever color you're working with. So you can utilize those for lighting like that. That's a good point, Linda. Some people are saying, I'm not going to get that, that pearl paper like that. The pearl's pretty fun, though. I like these ones like that. This one's really apparent like this when I do this type of thing like here. I like the difference in tones from bottom to top like that. And the thing that's doing that is this transitioning light to a little bit darker like that. I guess you can see it a little bit on the white piece of paper, but this is so much more reflective. It's because the light is hitting this silver cardstock and it's bouncing back up here. So it's going to be the strongest, the closest to that reflective area. And it just, this is just like the difference between like 5 inches, and this is the difference between 2 inches right here. The strength of this light being reflected off here, back up here, is like less. So you get this kind of glow, on that horizon area like that through the use of, you see that kind of glary kind of look there? I'm just kind of I'm pushing the pearl kind of paper a little bit more here by going kind of darker so that pearl has to kind of show through media. I already know what it looks like, on bare paper now, so I just wanted to see if it, we want to see if this pearl paper is going to be more beneficial than just stamping it on, a piece of white paper. I mean, I can see it right here. See those glary kind of tinge in here. We'll just see if it, but it has to look good too. So we'll see if it looks, any good at all in the end result. Which too, I mean, you can't just go off of, my piece. Maybe, maybe I didn't do a good scene or something like that either for it, as a good representation for, kind of the point I'm trying to, look I'm trying to find too. So, do you like that one, Linda? That mirror card? I was trying to do this one 2 nights ago, and my stamps weren't clean, so it wasn't giving me an impression on top of the pearl, so I just made this one instead. Super simple. This is a card, right? People think these cards are like, when they see these mirror cards, they think, oh my God, I can't do that. But this is the card right here, basically. It's two stamps, well, besides that one right there. Um, and then all you're doing, I mean, the card down below is just two stamps in stays on black down there. I put some of those highlights down there like that, but to me, this looks like so much more of a card, and it's only doing two impressions on silver and adding it to it, you know? I don't know. It's just really a fun look, and it's just, you know, it doesn't, uh, it doesn't really require very much more work, you know, with the mirror cards. And the mirror cards too, I keep the bottom portion really simple, uh, just so it's not blocking off a lot of the other reflective types of elements down there. I mean, the thing that takes me the longest is just kind of adding in these little dots like this, but I like to give those trees kind of a nice little shimmering touch, you know. All right, so we're working up to that white. See, I'm kind of working through my different values like this. It's going from darker to lighter like this. And see, this is my transitioning value scheme like that. So I like to work it through the different values. You know, I didn't always have all these different colors in here. I was using like Sharpie tones like this. So before I was only able to go with like this, you know, this, and, you know, like white would be used after that. Yeah, but these days we have so many more tones and values of colors available in your different types of media. It really makes it, I don't know, potentially more dynamic, I guess. You know, having a little bit more of a range and selection. Okay, so see, I'm adding that in there, but again, remember that it's going to dry off a little bit and merge in. Let's see, let me see, I'm adding this in. See how light that looks right there? I've done that over here too. See, this is this. And do you see, it's like, as you're watching it, it darkens, it dries and it gets darker. So, you know, usually when I get to these lighter ones, I wish it were a little bit more opaque, or at least what it looks like when it's been freshly applied, so that kind of you know what you're kind of working with as you do it. But I'm glad it goes darker as opposed to going lighter, you know, so that you have a lot more control over it, because you know you can always add more in there. Yeah, this is one's gonna, anytime you do it like interior lighting like that over like a silhouette type of building, a little bit more Halloween-ish for sure. Let's do something too. This is looking like a really soft kind of you know, image. It's a soft image here. Let me see. Let me go something like this. I'm going to mask off the side of this building like this, where it goes like this. This is all one, this side of the building, you know, in terms of a three-dimensional aspect of it. Let's see here. I'm going to try to make this a little bit, or a lot darker on that edge. There's still a little bit of black on this. And we want to turn this object in space, you know, and make it look a little bit more dimensional. And I'll do it with a crisp edge like that. All right. Okay, let's go. I'm going to do it on the rooftop as well, I think. I'm not trying to get that whole side of the building, but I'll just transition it from one side to the next like this. All right. And it'll be like that. So it's a little bit more Halloween-ish. we need like a witch flying across that moon right there. If you want to make it a little bit more, you can also do like yellow in the windows too, kind of giving it a little bit more of a warmer tinge as well. It's really whatever you want it to go to. Or what I should do is I should have this scene like this, stamp this down here, and then put those trees right down here, and then have the creature of the Black Lagoon walking out of here. The creature of the Black Lagoon's usually not in, you know, you'd usually see it kind of in a scenario of like, I don't know, where was it kind of supposed to be, like in the Amazon or something like that. It's usually not like North America or wherever this could be. But it might be interesting. We might be moving in that direction. Bats up here. Okay, so here comes white right here. Oh, Linda said serenity. I don't. Yeah, it'd probably be less serene with the creature of the Black Lagoon. Oh, the serenity is the other one. Yeah. Well, we could go in that direction right there. The moon looks 3D on that one. This one right here. Well, this is the only one with the moon, I guess. So this one was that really high-tech edition of the moon right here with the hole punch there, Laura. Okay, which bats? Every time I use that, my Ken Brown creature of the Black Lagoon, I always get like 2 or 3 people that really want that stamp, and it's an old Ken Brown stamp from the 1980s. It's actually a Ken Brown stamp. It's not. You've been stamping for a while. There used to be this company called Rubber Stamps of America, and they made a lot of the Ken Brown, who was a rubber stamp artist, you know, in those early days. They made his line of stamps. I don't know if they made all of his stamps or if he gave them his plates or whatever, because I don't remember a Creature of the Black Lagoon from Rubber Stamps of America, but maybe. But anyways, yeah, everyone always wants that one. But it is, you know, it's been discontinued, so, you know, not great. But it just comes to show you, if you think you might want something, you know, these days, rubber stamps, accessories, whatever, accessories. Just like with the Marvy inks, you know, in my video from a couple days ago, it's like, oh my God, the Marvy 1500 series that have been around since, you know, before I was stamping. Not going to be carried by Uchida of America anymore, which I would assume that means that they're not going to be made anymore, because if they lose that US market, then I don't know if they'll be around. I know they have different sets and things like that too, but you know, I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to get them. Okay, so anyways, you can see that lighting on there much more visually and whatnot. This is going to be blended into with some white pigment ink and whatnot, so we're going to try to merge that in quite a bit more. Let's even see if that lighting is showing in those reflections there. They look so different from the impressions in the background. It's just so different of a texture. But I'm going to try to unify these things, and usually I can do that with white pigment ink. Okay, I'll use the brilliance on here. We're going to give a little bit of a glow around our moon like that, and then we'll have some mist kind of meandering through these trees right in here, okay? But look at this area down here. Doesn't that look really dimensional like that? All right, so I think it's time to do some foreground impressions too. And I'll do these ones in StazOn. I haven't forgotten about the Versafine up on that pearl area. Yeah, now. This is what I just cleaned these stamps off. I'm going to clean off my StazOn applied stamps right after usage. These, you know, these days it goes against my kind of lazy nature to not clean things off so thoroughly immediately after usage, but I think I'm going to have to because it is so much easier to clean off the stamp, I've found, like immediately after usage than sitting around for 2 months, you know. Who would have thought? You know? Let's see. All right. I might have to re-ink my StazOn. I'm not getting it right up there, am I? Let's see. The stamp is so clean, it doesn't look like I have ink on it. All right. Okay. I have pre-adhered this mirrored cardstock to this area on the bottom. And with StazOn, I need to work faster than I normally do. Hello, Yvonne. Okay, so we have that one right there. I have my smaller one out too. I think I might use that smaller one down below here as well. All right, so I flanked my left and right corners, okay? And let's see where my smaller one went. Okay, so it's like that. All right. Look at that moon kind of glowing in there. See that right there is kind of interesting to me because it has this glary kind of lighting in there. And I think it, you know, that kind of looks like that lighting from the moon is kind of coming through that meadow in there. Huh. Or I don't know, not meadow, but that area in there. So that's where the pearl, I don't know, can come in use if you're going for, you know, that type of reflected light, I guess, or that illusion of reflected light like that. All right, so I have these down here like that. Okay. And StazOn ink. I think that's all the StazOn ink that I'll use. Let me wipe this off. I'll get as much of that StazOn ink off like this as I can. Actually, it's already dried on this one. So let's take a look and see this right here. All right, let's see. Let's go in and try that technique with some of the white pigment ink in the form of reflected mist here. Yeah, we'll see if we can add in some nice mystery to this one. It's that kind of mysterious, kind of whimsical kind of look. You see, like set directors and whatnot in movies, it's like that, you know, those fog machines are working like, you know, overtime on movies. You see it all the time. It doesn't have to be like a, you know, what is that? What was that vampire series? You know, it doesn't have to be like some kind of like spooky forested mist or anything like that. You see it being, I see that thing now that I'm looking for it. It's like daytime types of sets and whatnot where they're just walking through anywhere and it's like mist, you know, coming from one end, you know, to the other. They always have some kind of like fog or something like that rolling through trees in movies and TV shows and whatnot. Okay, so, all right. So adding this in, I'm going to add it around my trees right in here because that's where the moonlight is, right? Or that's where the moon is. Okay. And I'll add it down in here. And we'll come across into the watermill. Let's go a little bit high on the watermill too. I think it's going to be best if I kind of bring this into this watermill quite a bit because of the, we really need to make a connection between these different trees and this structure in here. That structure is really kind of, it's really pushed back in the distance like that. And these trees are just so kind of forward, okay? Which I want because they are supposed to be in front of this mill, but I do want them to have a little bit more of a connection than they do right now, which is like none. And the pigment ink, I don't know, the pigment ink usually provides kind of my answers to things like that. So see this kind of this meandering type of fog. And what I'll do is I'll kind of take it back in here a little bit more too, like about like so. So you start it in the lighter areas, then you kind of tap it back into those darker areas so that you get this transitioning application of it going from more to less, and then since it's white, it's going from light to dark, okay? So go like this. I would normally go all the way down here, but I think I want that dark kind of delineation right here because I think those darker edges like that in some areas look better, you know, in the mirror type of, you know, scenario like that. So see this little edge right here? It's like the water's edge, you know, having that little bit of a darker edge down there. I'm wondering about those reeds, if I want those in there. I'm not sure if I do. Maybe a little bit, just to break up kind of the tree line area in here. But it's a little bit more glowing, I guess. I think it does look a little bit spookier, maybe. I'm with you. Werewolves in London, yeah. I was telling someone in the other stream, unless it was you traveled during it. I know someone mentioned something. What did they mentioned? But I just happened, you know, it's like Halloween, so we've been searching around for different movies, and I played American Werewolf in London. I don't think my wife had seen it either, so it was kind of new to them. I like that movie because it's kind of it's a horror kind of comedy, but it's got that comedic edge to it as well. All right, I'm really enjoying kind of the lighting on those trees right there, so I'm adding quite a bit more. And then what I'm doing is I'm going off around that moon like that a little bit too. So I'm trying to make that moon glow a little bit more, okay? Let me try something here too. I'm going to add, see these lighter areas in here? To me, that just, it looks, and it's real shimmery like that, but I'm going to add in, see if I can add a little bit of a different texture in some of that area with this white. And I don't know, it'll mute out some of that glare maybe, you know, just for a little bit of variation like that. I don't know, maybe I should be more gutsy and add a lot more, but, you know, I think that's all I'm going to do right there. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to add a little bit more because as I add this, just like the paint pens, they dry more transparent, okay? So go in here a little bit more like that. And then you just kind of keep building up wherever you want there to be a lighter incarnation of this translucent. That looks much better right in here, doesn't it? So see, it wasn't a super sharp impression on there on that pearl. I think if I stamp faster, I get a better impression. I don't know. I can't get used to that. I'm still kind of, you know, discovering that, I think, on this type of paper right here. But this transition in here where other things are kind of softer now, I think it's a little bit better looking. It's more purposeful looking, having this texturing in other areas. So I don't know, it's just a little bit more related. Okay, you're getting a lot of glare on here too, so that's what that area in there looks like, that little passage down there. It would still look good with some nice crisp bats though, wouldn't it? All right, so here's all this work on here and kind of waiting to do kind of something that I've really been itching to do on this scene right here is to add those highlights in there, a la this one right here. See, I went with these purple little highlights on here and these foreground elements, but on this one that has this white kind of glowing moon in here like that, I think I can go all the way to white on these ones to be reflecting that light coming from, you know, that area there. So I'll add more of the highlights again in the areas closest to the source, you know, just to reiterate that lighting in here. So it'll be like this, okay? All right, let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm going to use the larger pens too, you know, because these are, you know, so I use the smaller ones on the smaller one right here, and the larger ones will be used on the larger Aspen stamp. All right, let's see. I'm starting off really dark. You're not going to be able to tell what I'm doing on here at all. Let me really try to blast my exposure here. Someone will have to remind me to decrease my exposure. Okay, I've like totally overexposed here, but yeah, okay, you can see what I'm doing. Boy, that looks like super light on there. Okay, I just want you to see what I'm doing here with the textures. Oh, I forgot I had that smaller tree down there, so. Don't be alarmed, though. This is really more of what it looks like in person. It's like that. But that's really reflecting. So it's like, yeah. I don't know why it's so light. Oh, it's like because it even gets darker on the black. So this is what it looks like. So look at this right here. This is the same purple on here, right? This is the dried version. This is the wet version like that. So it does change quite a bit. All right, let's see. All right, that is that. Let's go. Okay, I forgot I had the smaller version in here. Let's go with the smaller paint pen. I think I want to splatter paint that top scene too, with some white paint. It needs a little bit of a crisp texture, overall texture, I think. All right, so that is the purple kind of scheme like that. It looks like this right here. Remember, it's going to get quite a bit darker, so that's what that looks like that. You barely see any of it kind of in this kind of scenario like this. So let's go with the lighter version. Maybe I'll go with the lighter versions of and the smaller versions like this right here. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I need to use this one right here, but let's go with this one. It's like a, I don't know what color is this right here. Is it pale violet or is it mauve? Is that the color? I can't remember some of those color names. All right, so adding it on the top branches or on the sides, you know, go a little bit more dominant on the sides, kind of facing. This one's like underneath the moon, so you can kind of put it on both sides. But this one right here has the moon over here. And this one has the moon kind of more to the right of it, upper, you know, area. What is it, like at 1 o'clock or something like that from it? I'm going to dissipate it a little bit. You don't have to have it so formally on one side or the other. You kind of want to have it, you know, a little bit more natural and kind of evened out too. You know, and think about these trees like a, you know, three-dimensional object with interior foliage as well. So something like that maybe. All right. Now let's take a look right here. I can't get over this area right in here, this reflected area. It's glowing so much. And I'm trying to think if it's, I don't know if it's the silver card. Okay, so we have light hitting this, right? But then we have light hitting this, and it's reflecting back up here too. So you have dual light sources kind of coming up in here, really making that really light like that. Let me see, did I change it here? Let me hit my exposure again a little bit more. But even that though, that is really illuminated in here. I have to think that that's that pearl kind of effect on the paper like that, but I'm not really quite sure. Huh. All right, so let's do some final touches on this right here. And that will be good. I think I have washed this off right here. I'm going to do a splatter painting of white over this, and I think that's going to give us a good textural quality and crispness to this overall kind of softer kind of background in here. It'll just be one extra thing in here that'll add a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of variation, I guess. I'm still, yeah. Hey, let's just give this a try here. Okay, so I'm going to go with the Versafine Claire, because this won't show up too much if I use it, but I can use it a lot more if I like it here. So let's try this Versafine Claire in here. I'm even seeing if this these reeds will stamp over the other media that I've laid down. I think it is in here, so I'm doing it multiple times just to get a little bit more of a kind of a stronger application of these reeds. And it's kind of a like a waterside type of a thing in here. I don't know if that's going to take a little bit of time for it to dry though. But that's that, like that. I think that, oh, that did help, didn't it? It transitioned those trees a little bit from the base too and kind of give it a little bit more of a water's edge. Oh, that's much better, I think. What do you guys think? Like that. Yeah, I think that helped a lot. Right on that water's edge. All right, now that has me thinking though. I think we can do this right here. I thought this would be a little bit too far. Yeah, this might be a little bit too big out here, even if I just use like a smaller portion of it. I was thinking the scale of those reeds in relation to these right here, it's not too bad like that. But yeah. Yeah, it did frame that edge so much better. I needed something, I needed crisp elements in this right here. You know, I think that that pearl gives us a really soft look for the most part, you know. So it's and then of course it's light, so it's just a matter of kind of bringing in your crisper elements into it. With certain types of papers too, the thing that I find myself doing is when it's something super loud like this, you know, when you're starting off with inherent types of qualities on certain things, you're just trying to balance it off with the different things that you're applying to it. Okay, so this one right here, maybe it's the softness of it. So, you know, when I'm adding in these crisp little elements of these, you know, trees and stuff with these little dots, maybe that's something crisp to kind of counterbalance that when I'm working on those like foil kind of holographic cardstocks that are crazy with patterns in it, I'm trying to bring in something that's relatively kind of soft and maybe even a little bit dull looking from a textural standpoint, just to kind of mellow out all that crazy kind of loudness coming from, you know, those papers, those super reflective pattern papers. All right, so Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White here, very opaque watercolor, white watercolor paint. You can get it at different art suppliers. If you're in other countries, you can look it up by, look up calligraphy supplies, and they often have it, or they used to carry it. I had to look, you know, had to look for it in Australia before, and I found it on this one site, and it was a calligraphy site, but they were out of like a bunch of different things, you know, unfortunately. Okay, so let's get some of this in here. I might need to. I was going to see if I can get away with this. This was like really thick in here. Let's add a little bit of, I just add a few drops of water in here like this, and then I mix it up. I think this is the first time I've added water to this one because I made it way too watery one time when I combined a couple jars and I was reconstituting one jar completely from, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, like hardened plaster of Paris or something like that. So I just really had to add a bunch of water to it. But I added too much, so it was like too watery for too long. Okay, this is better. You want it like kind of like a like a syrup, like a maple syrup consistency. Maybe a little bit thinner than that, you know, like a cheap syrup. Aunt Jemima or something like that. Not real. Like a maple flavored I don't know, whatever they would call it. Topping, maple flavored topping. What does this represent to me here? It's like, I don't know, like a little bit of a, the trees in here are purple, so it's probably like spring, but like a late, it's supposed to be like a late snow maybe or something. I don't know. Chances are it wouldn't be Halloween though, because you know that's fall, right? But this location isn't Earth either, so. It's yeah, it's Europa. Okay, so let's add in kind of a few little larger elements in here, I guess, to complement or, you know, to balance off some of the thinner sprays. Spray patterning, I guess. All right, and that that is what that looks like right there. So a little bit more dimensional, right? Which I think it really benefits from. It's not like in a super bombastic way or anything like that, but you know, because most of the spray pattern is fairly small. Well, let's take a look and see what it looks like on here. I don't know if that'll even show up in that. Maybe it's a little bit too much. I'll darken in some of that darkness up there, but I want to see that reflection down below like that. All right, so let's go like this. I'm wondering about that Claire. Here, let me test out that Claire. All right, I'm not seeing anything apparent. I might have a little bit of a residual dampness coming off of those reeds down there, but I think it's set in there pretty good, so that's good. All right, so let's see here. We'll go with that pattern. Like this, you know, put your mirror card up at 45 degrees and just kind of lay that down like that. And then, you know, especially if your media is maybe a little bit damp still, just put on a piece of paper like that. And you can brayer it or something like that if you want to, but I don't know, that's usually enough to do it like that. All right, that's a little bit crazy up there with that ink job. Let's see. Oh, I still have access to this. It was in my garbage can. But one of the things you can do is you can mute, you know, certain types of those textures like that too. And the Dr. Martens really takes inks really well. But one of the things you can do is you can just kind of mute some of it, and they just become more gray. I mean, you can mute them out completely if you want to, but I'm just going to go over it. Maybe I should put in like a purple tinge up in that sky to keep this kind of in theme or something like that. Let's do that. Let's bring in a little bit of this purple like this and just bring this up here. Where it's in the darker area, it's not going to read as purple, but maybe we'll get a little bit of a purple tinge up there from applying this violet ink into it, right? Why not? You can even make some of these little snowflakes, or, you know, some of it could represent stars as well. Even on a full moon night, right? Artistic license. You can add little elements like that in there. Like purple, you know, purple fall or whatever, just from a thematic standpoint. All right, so I don't know. I really don't see there might be a little tinge of violet up there, but anyways, I get that. About like so. I'm still toying with the idea of a little bit of a larger reed, like right in there. I might do it, especially with especially with that Claire. That Claire really dried really nicely for me. I didn't know if it would dry at all, and it seemed to dry already. I'm going to go with a little bit of a larger impression out here. Just to kind of frame things off on the edge, like that. And I'll put another one on the left side. All right. Let's go like this, and so you get a little bit of a movement to that moon, not too much, you know, when someone's opening it. What I'm looking for is that if that, you know, kind of rises up a little bit, you know, as you're moving it. Or I don't know, maybe it's setting, you know, I guess it's setting or something like that. It's going down like that when you open this card up, like about like so. All right, so that is that, and a couple little finishing touches. I don't have I had a quote in mind for this one, but it's a little bit more ominous looking, so I don't know, unless we're going to contrast or kind of make something like more of a joke, but you know, I don't know, like a, thinking of you, that's not working in this one right here. Yeah. Or if you know someone that likes horror movies and stuff like that, you throw some bats in there and you put, the thinking of you right up here. That'd be kind of cool. But here's this purple right down here, and what I'm going to do is, like I did in my previous ones, I like adding, when I'm doing these like little colored dots in a mirror card situation, I like adding, actually I'm going to add some of this color in here now. It's a little bit of a different hue, but I like adding things floating on that watered, that mirrored surface just to give it a little bit of extra, kind of a mirrored water setting. Okay, so I'm going to put some of these down here. And I kind of cluster them like I was mentioning in my other video. You get these leaves and, there's a little bit of a current or whatnot in there, like so. And you can also kind of check out and see where those areas are reflecting down here. And sometimes in the darker regions like that, these little types of touches show up a little bit more. Depends on what value they are in terms of light and dark. But this is what this looks like. It looks really bizarre. It's like, what the heck are those? So let's see if I can show you them. I don't know if you can even see them. It's so reflective. Can you see that right there a little bit? If I move that around, let's see. I might have to go a little bit lighter or something like that. Pink. You can go multiple tones like that too in there if you want to. But, oh, here's one more thing here. Two, stays on black, tiny rocks, just a little pattern of rocks right here. Okay, so this transition between this area and down here, I'm going to put a few of these little rocks in the water on the shore's edge, okay? I wouldn't call it random, but, kind of a varied application of them a little bit. And I'll add some of these down here in the foreground. Like, like you can see, like some of the rocks might be sitting out of the water, like up top there, like this, okay? See those little rocks in there like that? It looks a little bit more shoreline-ish to have those little transitioning textures in there like so. And then down here, it's like the near shore, like that. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that right there. All right, but, I don't know. Purple madness in here on this one. A little bit of a different spirit to that tinge of purple in here than, say, this one right here. Two, I don't know. It's like yin and yang applications of the mill. Some bats might be appropriate, or a little bit of a witch or something like that flying across the the horizon in there. Or you can have, like I said, we could have put that little Ken Brown, the Creature of the Black Lagoon coming out of there, or something of that sort, which might be kind of interesting. Oh, it'd be cool. Some little fireflies in here too. Now, if I didn't add in all of that falling texture in there, I think some fireflies would have been really cool to have them kind of glowing, like right here in the foreground, and that would have been interesting. But I think it would be overkill to put in like these little larger dots in here, glowing, because we already have it. It's just so busy in here already with all those different types of textures and whatnot. So Those reeds really helped though, didn't they, down here? Don't you think? And in here, those taller ones, you can't really see them too much, but it helped to kind of break up those trees a little bit more so, like that. Yeah. So okay, so here's the pearl again. I always forget about that pearl when I'm, talking about it or whatnot, but see this right here? When I turn this card a little bit like this, you see that this whole kind of area? All right, I just lost it. It did it just a minute ago. There's this reflective, there it goes, little, oh yeah, like that. See that right there? That's that pearl up there in that light that's really reflecting a lot of that light, which it just makes it a little bit of a different surface to work on. White cardstock is easier to work on, I think, for me. But like I said, this is like the third card that I've done with this pearl paper. Maybe using like the Versafine Claire up here. Maybe that's the better black to use up there. I mean, the Versafine Claire down there, it gave a really great impression, or application of inks. The Versafine Claire, though, if I stamp this one in here, then I wouldn't have been able to use the alcohol inks, but I would have had a much darker impression of that. So I don't know, different things to kind of experiment with and to check out. So this one right here stamped out much lighter, so I just kind of went with it and kind of diffused it a lot more using that white pigment ink and whatnot. Let me add a little bit of a highlight on this. Now I look at this a little bit more. Going in with some of this white paint on the shingles here, kind of reflecting some of that. Maybe the top portion like this, a little bit more. Like that. I don't know if that really stands out. Can you see that like that? So let's see how it looks like in general. Yeah, it's a little bit more kind of visible. So I don't know. If something just starts going in some direction, one of the things that I've always mentioned in the past to stampers is you might have something in mind in terms of kind of direction for some card, but at some point in time, sometimes, especially when it comes to experiments, it might want to go in a certain direction, and you just kind of have to go with it. You can kind of go to a certain extent, but if it just wants to go in some other way, it's too diffused, or like up here, it was real kind of textural with that kind of thing showing through. So you add in those types of elements like that, those crisp little dots, maybe if it's too kind of airy looking, or whatever, and just kind of go with that. Or like this here with this glowing kind of moon down here, you just kind of emphasize it a little bit more or whatnot, and just kind of let it kind of direct you in some ways. And it doesn't end up being too much of a mystery. Just just kind of let go of some of the preconceived notions, if you had some going into it. Even if I might be trying to do, sometimes I've tried to do similar types of techniques that I've already got in the past with another composition, but it's like the new composition is like, at some point in time, it just said, nope, I'm not going there. So I have to kind of let it, guide me in many ways like that. I don't know if you guys can see those tones down there. So see, if I held this like this, you can see those little highlights on these trees a little bit more. And then when you hold it like this, it's it's a little bit less, so you can't really see the purple on here too much. But look at this purple like that. That's how that looks down here, and this is how it looks like in context. Okay, so it's just a little bit of a touch down here. It's instead of just being completely black like I was doing for the first several cards that I was doing there. So yeah, glad you like it, Jen. Let's see here. Glad you like those purples. I'm enjoying the purples. I haven't really used so many purples before. Purple was my favorite color as a kid. Like I always say, my little crayon pack, like in elementary school, the purple was always gone. But I don't know, in my stamping life, I haven't used purples probably enough. I should use them a little bit more. These have been really fun here. I like the feel of it. I don't know, there's just a different kind of emotional quality to different colors, isn't there? I would have liked to go a little bit browner in here because I think it would have been a little bit more of a nice complement to just the purple tones in here. It almost looks all monochromatic, you know, except for the purple in here. So I don't know, maybe that could be a certain type of look. There's a little bit of a warm tinge to that with the alcohol inks in there. But yeah. All right. That is that. Thanks so much for joining in. Yeah, the roof is a little bit better. It was a little bit too diffused and needed a little bit more. And then I went back over my windows again. It was too, you know, kind of diffused in the background. We needed a crisper impression, I think, with, yeah, let me see here. Is this... Okay, this is a piece of that. If you guys want to check this out, let me just check. Let me see something right here. I'm going to try the Claire on here since I'm cleaning these stamps off anyways. Actually, I didn't need to clean this one off because I stamped it in the dye-based ink. This was stamped in dye-based ink before. I know that was after, but I let it dry off too much. Okay, so see that right there? Here's the Versafine Claire. I should have done it in the Versafine Claire and just figured out another way to color it, maybe. Maybe I would have colored it with the dye-based ink, so look at that right there. You can't tell on that one anymore, but that one gave me a much stronger impression on the Pearl printable paper, okay? It's not Pearl cardstock, remember that. Maybe it works on the Pearl cardstock, I don't know. But, you know, there shouldn't be any problem with drying, so I don't know. I need to take that into consideration. But then I need to come up with something that I'm going to color things with instead of alcohol inks. Unless you stamp something like that out, you spray seal it, and then you go back in with your alcohol inks over that because you're really coloring the spray sealant as opposed to the oil-based pigment ink, you know, which would smear if I colored it with alcohol inks, I think, right? Let me see. Yeah, that's all like gray. Look at, see this right here? This is this color right here, so it's just totally smearing. That's wet too, you know, but I think even when it dries, it would put that oil-based ink right back into solution with that alcohol, right? You know, you clean things off. You clean off oil with alcohol, so, you know, it's no different than the compatibility issues when it comes to media based on the same kind of binders that are going on there. So, yeah. All right, thanks everyone. Happy Saturday, Sunday in other parts of the world or whatever. Or is it, it's the morning in other parts or afternoons here. So thanks so much for joining in. I learned some new things about this one. I didn't know. I learned that I was doing maybe a spookier looking type of scenario than I originally thought about, but I still like the overall look. It could have been better with a little bit of a stronger impression though. So we'll think about that in the future in terms of the Versafine Claire, maybe with that particular paper, if you're making black impressions that you don't want to have kind of diffused out. Maybe you can do the lighter impressions if you want ones that look farther back in the distance or something like that. So I don't know. A lot of experimentation to come. All right, folks. Thanks again. Have a happy rest of whatever time of day it is for you. Let's see, let me get this angle right here. Like this, and YouTube always grabs the thumb like in the last few seconds here, so I'm just going to try to get, I'll just hold it like this. I don't know, maybe I should get that out of the way. My moon maker. All right, folks, good night, everyone.